It's a lot of sequences that's looking for patterns of what will be the most correct answer for everybody and what's the most likely answer that Masako might like, right? Space and time, it doesn't do good, but it does really well with sequence and patterns. And that's what human brain does. It starts with space and time, develops sequence and patterns, but large language model is flipping it on the other side. It's developing patterns, sequences, and then learning about time and space, which is okay because it's a slow process. It will learn that eventually. And when it does, we will have a hell of a show, I would say, on what's going to happen to our interactions with AI, right? Because its understanding of space and time means something that we cannot even fathom what an AI would be capable of doing at that time, right? We can talk about humanoid robots and how LLM develops this humanoid robots and does amazing things for humanoid robots that we probably weren't able to develop 12 months ago, but today we can develop it every day
Mhm.
because of large language models. And then that goes back to Lucky's digital twin as well. Those capabilities are insanely fast. Um, So I started off with 2016, where Google Translator was space and time, and then sequences and patterns. What holds for the next 10 years is how do we minimize these data? How do we compress them? How do we process this data in a compressed manner so that way we can launch it anywhere, launch it in each IoT devices, launch it into right now, me and Bobby talked about it before the show. We have to download it, right? And then we have to show it here how we are downloading it and how fast it was to download, right? That size is going to shrink. That size is shrinking rapidly. As of 2 months ago, if you remember the Wall Street crash that happened where they lost 500 billion back in January, 600 billion over an afternoon, it was because of large language model that was too small. Everybody said, "Oh my God, there goes the earth and sky. Everything's falling apart." Right? Well, nothing fell apart. It's just that we realized, like, well, there's other ways to do things, right?
Right.
And we can do it faster and we can do it for cheaper. So 100 million versus $5 million, huge difference. What does the
Right.
5 million have to do? Well, that 5 million feeds into a small business or growing business or medium-sized businesses to adopt artificial intelligence, adopt it for a very cheap cost, right? Lucky talked about open source and closed source. But again, it learns exponentially, not incrementally. So if you're thinking like, well, I will get started when it matures. Well, it matured for somebody else. That's not your baby. That's a mature baby that somebody else raised, right? If you don't have one, that means you don't have a baby. You have to be happy with somebody else's baby, right? So closed and open source, there's a huge conversation to have. But if you split apart all these large language model and all these topics away, what we're discussing here is that how does this knowledge base stack up, right? What's in that knowledge base? What's in the core of this knowledge base? If it doesn't have, say, for example, a space and time concept yet, that's okay. Will it learn it? Yes, it will learn it. But will it learn for your business is a whole different question than will it learn for Google, right? Because Google can hand it over to you. And I call it the 80-20 rules. Google can give you 80% of everything you need, but you have 20% that is your responsibility to sort of say, now that Google has given me their baby, I'm going to have to make this baby my baby, right? And I have to make this.
Sounds to me like you're saying, or this is what each individual business owner should be doing. It's relationship building with your model. Spend time in it daily, because if you don't spend time in your relationship model building it,
Very, very accurate.
then
Very,
it's not
Well,
yours.
all right. Well, that's the same thing in the circle. You talk about motherhood so much, and I think about you often when it comes to artificial intelligence, because you're growing a intelligence, be it artificial or not, right? So many things at different ages we take in. So by the time you're an adult, when you make a decision, there's so many things that you just take for granted because you were shown, your mother showed you as you were coming up, right? You don't even think about it. It just is. It's part of who you are. But the truth of the matter is, we move through time and space pretty much on a guess, meaning you take a step you've taken in information, you've seen the environment around you, but you're not looking at your feet. You know what your stride is and how often that stride has worked for you. I can send you down the sidewalk and raise one square extra inch and a half, and now you're on the ground because you tripped over a loop because there was some information that you missed, right? So just know that just as we're always learning, the AI itself is always learning. It's only as good as the information that it has at that moment. When we take a step, there aren't sensors in our feet saying how close we are to the sidewalk, right? So just think of that as you develop your own solutions, that you will always be part of validating, is it what you wanted it to be? No matter what the solution is, don't just take it for granted. Question it.